Hello, everyone. I think we are ready to go for this webinar. If that's all right with you guys, my name is Mark. I'll animate this webinar, and we'll have two speakers, Professor Christopher Ura, Dr. Maëlys Douin, and Jeremy Sibioni from the Red Cross. I'll let them introduce themselves a little bit. Okay, I guess they're not really ready yet. So what I suggest is that I keep on going for the introduction. So welcome to this webinar on the different answers and angles addressed in the past years to the epidemic risks for the America-Caribbean region. I'll be your host for the next hour, and I'm very happy to present this webinar and its contents. As I said, we'll have two speakers with us today, Professor Christopher Ura and Dr. Maëlys Douin with us. But first, to kick off our webinar, I'd like to read a short introduction by the Red Cross. The territories of the Guiana Shield are regularly affected by epidemic phenomena of a viral nature. The main viruses involved in recent years are dengue, chikungunya, Zika, but also COVID-19. In 2015 and 2016, the French Red Cross, in partnership with the Red Cross National Societies of Suriname and Guyana, implemented the Rempart Vector Control Project, raising expertise, mobilization, and participation for the reinforcement of vector control on the Guyana Shield. With Rempart, the Red Cross aims at strengthening epidemic response capacities in territories of French Guiana, Suriname, and Guyana through a regional cooperation approach, combining mobilization of regional technical expertise, strengthening the epidemic response capacities of the Red Cross societies of the Guyana Shield, and the implementation of citizen and community actions for epidemic prevention according to an integrated school approach. The regional gathering of experts for the Americas Caribbean region, to which we are inviting you today, is part of the consolidating regional cooperation component for epidemics management. After this short introduction, please welcome the head of the regional French Red Cross delegation for the Caribbean, Jeremy Sibioni. I'll leave you the floor.
Thank you, Mark. Hello, everyone. So I am Jeremy Sibioni, head of the regional French Red Cross delegation for Caribbeans, and I'm very pleased to officially open the 2023 gathering of the network of experts for the America-Caribbean region, dedicated this year to responses to infectious risks in the context of climate change. This event is part of our project called Rempart Epidemic, supported by the French Red Cross, the Suriname Red Cross, and the Guyana Red Cross. And as you know, this event consists of two webinars, one virtual exhibition, and one review. I take advantage of this opportunity to thank our financial partners, the European Interreg-Amazon Cooperation Program, and the French Development Agency, the speakers, of course, and of course, all of you for making yourself available to participate in this event. Thanks a lot. Mark, I leave the floor to you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Jeremy. We wanted to see you a little bit. Your camera is on, it was off, but if you want to say hello, just because it was nice to hear from you.
Yeah, I'm not sure to know exactly how to do that.
No worries.
Sorry.
No worries. Of course. Okay, maybe later.
Yeah.
Now, thank you, Jeremy. Now, without further ado, I'm honored to present you with our two speakers of today's webinar. Here is how today's session is going to go. 15 minutes each, and then we'll have a round of Q&A sessions, so you can take part in this webinar asking your question to our speakers after both their presentation. We look forward to your questions. And I'm excited because it's a nice opportunity to exchange with both our speakers on their area of expertise. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our two speakers, Professor Christopher Ura from England, who'll tell us more about One Health, what is it and why is it so relevant to today's health challenges. Then Dr. Maëlys Douin from French Guiana will develop on Malakit Karema, the innovative interventions for malaria eliminations in forests. That's a rich program. So to present Professor Christopher Ora, I'd like to say a few words. Christopher is a professor of veterinary virology at the School of Veterinary Medicine, University of the West Indies, UWY, in Trinidad and Tobago. He's running a One Health-based research program and has led 2 large European Union funded projects promoting One Health across the Caribbean region. Christopher, we're delighted to have you. Please, I'll give you the floor.
Thank you very much, Mark. I would like to show myself, but when I press my start video button, it says the host has stopped it. So I don't know whether you can give me permission to put on my video so you can see me, or whether you just want me to start as is.
Of course, I think Hervé is going to handle that, or someone from the agency.
Okay, I'm going to take
hard
the again.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just start because I know we haven't got too much time.
No worries.
And I'll try and put my video on as we move forward, if that's all right. So I'm now going to share my screen with you guys. Okay.
It works.
So hopefully you can, Mark, can you see my slides all right?
Yes, I think everyone can.
Great. So it's a great pleasure to be here today. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to talk about One Health. I'm going to talk today a little bit about what is One Health, why should we practice One Health, taking into consideration especially the Caribbean region, which is where I've been based for the last 12 years at the University of the West Indies in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm going to talk a little bit about why One Health is so relevant to today's big health challenges and give you a couple of examples to show that. And then at the end, I'm going to show you a quick video and talk to you a little bit about what we're doing to promote One Health in our Caribbean region. So many of you would have seen over the years different concepts put forward, like ecosystem health, global health, planetary health, and One Health, and you might be a little bit confused. But basically, these all are overlapping, and we're all trying to do the same thing. We're trying to finding solutions to difficult, complex, cross-sectoral problems affecting the health of human, animals, and agriculture, and also the environment, using a transdisciplinary collaborative approach. So that's effectively what we're trying to do. And we all know that for any of these types of things, these changes in the way we do things, the time has to be right when people are going to initiate them and take them on board. And certainly with One Health, the time is right. With many of the international organizations like FAO, OIE, WHO, and the UN, all very much promoting this One Health approach. So these guys, these international organizations got together and they came up with a unified definition of One Health in December 2021. I just wanted to spend just a moment just saying what this is, because it's important. So One Health is an integrated, unifying approach that aims to sustainably balance and optimize the health of people, animals, and ecosystems. And critically, it recognizes the health of humans, domestic and wild animals, plants, and the wider environment. It recognizes that they're all closely linked and interdependent. And this One Health approach mobilizes multiple sectors and disciplines and communities to all work together, to collaborate and work together. So very simply, One Health recognizes the importance of working together, and it recognizes the connections among the health of people, the environment, animals, and agriculture. And really, this is what we need to think about, how I think about it is, we need to think who needs to be around the table to solve a problem. And we need people from multiple disciplines. We need people to get out of their silos, and we need people to work together. So whatever's in the middle here, and I'll just get my little laser pointer, whatever's in the middle here, the issue to address, be it climate change, be it food security, be it COVID-19, be it antimicrobial resistance, we need to think who needs to be involved in order to address that problem. And there's going to be human elements, research, disease expertise. There's going to be veterinary elements, animal research, because animals are often involved in the spread of certainly diseases, but also other things like antimicrobial resistance. We, of course, need policy input from governments. We need private sector input from pharmaceuticals who are developing the antibiotics and the drugs. Critically, we need social and economic impact because, of course, all these health issues have a massive impact on people, on communities, and on our pockets. We need environmental input. All of climate change is constantly, as we move forward, it's going to have an effect on everything we do, and that needs to be taken into consideration. And there are other things that need to be taken into consideration, like, for example, vector-borne diseases, entomological inputs. So we need to address this. This is the One Health approach. Who needs to be around the table to address these problems? And there clearly, we all know, is an urgency to act now. We have a burgeoning world population moving up beyond the 8 to the 10 billion. We have to feed and we have to water that population, and we have to take into consideration food security and food safety when we do that. We have climate change hitting us very, very hard, especially in countries like the Caribbean and island states. We have antimicrobial resistance, which is a major issue. Antibiotics that were very effective just a few years ago are now becoming ineffective because of indiscriminate use of antibiotics. And of course, with COVID-19 and other viruses that we mentioned in the introduction, like dengue, chikungunya, Zika, these are spreading very fast. And these are zoonotic diseases that spread from animals to humans and are a real danger of causing pandemics. So there are more, but here I mentioned 4 major, complex, wicked health issues that demand this interdisciplinary, collaborative One Health approach. The first is globalization, the emerging of zoonotic diseases like COVID-19. The second, antimicrobial resistance. The third, food and water security. And the fourth, of course, global warming and climate change. And I'm going to just, in my short time, just mention a little bit about the first 2. And why a One Health approach is so important when we're addressing these problems. We know that for zoonotic disease, most human pathogens have come through animals and are zoonotic. And we know that animals maintain pathogens in the environment. And this is often wildlife that maintain pathogens in the environment. And as we chop down trees and actually as we move into wildlife habitats, we come into closer proximity and we give the opportunity of those pathogens the chance to jump from wildlife into humans and cause pandemics, like almost certainly happened with COVID-19. And also what is in severe danger we are from influenza viruses at the moment, avian influenza. We know animals then are involved in the spread of the pathogens to humans, so we need to take that into consideration. We also know that environmental factors are linked to the spread of many pathogens. So with these terms here, you see environment, animals, humans, and we need to follow this multidisciplinary One Health approach in order to address these kind of issues effectively. And many of us know that the major drivers of these disease emergence are ecological, economic, and social factors. And you can see here the fact that we're cutting down our forests, as I said just now, is putting us in closer proximity to wildlife and enabling those viruses to pass across from animals to humans. Modern agricultural practices are enabling pathogens to jump from animal to animal very rapidly. And in the process, they adapt, they mutate, and they change. And that enables them sometimes to jump species and jump into humans. We have a very, very high density human population with unplanned urbanization, enabling viruses to pass very dramatically and very, very suddenly from human to human. And we also critically have close association between humans, animals, as you can see in this picture here, which is often driven by poverty. And in many of the wet markets of, for example, China and some other countries, because of bio-unsafe conditions, very very poor conditions where the blood of animals is associated closely with humans during the butchering process, that gives the opportunity for viruses to jump. And of course, when they do get out into the population, we have rapid global transport networks, enabling those pathogens to pass around the world in no time at all. So when we think One Health here, we think to the left of this. We have to think about this big, thick line here. This is the cost. And for COVID-19, the cost of an outbreak, it's been trillions of US dollars. And in order to stop this massive cost, we need to keep everything to the left of this figure. So we need to make sure that when viruses or pathogens are in animals, when they're exposing themselves, when they have then as clinical signs in animals, we make sure they don't then spread to humans, cause clinical signs in humans, and result in humans seeking medical care. Because it's at this stage to the right when we have all the costs, both in lives and in dollars. And this is all about One Health. It's understanding that we need to make sure that we focus on keeping those viruses, those same viruses in animals, and stopping them from transmitting to humans. So the other quick example I'm going to give you today is antimicrobial resistance. We know one of the biggest health risks, one of the issues that we face is the fact that antibiotics and anthelmintic drugs are becoming resistant. And many people now are dying of conditions that they were saved from by antiparasite, anthelmintic, antibacterial drugs just a few years ago. And again, we go back to what I said earlier. How do we address antimicrobial resistance positively and effectively? Is we need to look at all the angles. Who needs to be involved in this One Health approach? We need to look at the human input. Who are giving the antibiotics, the anthelmintics, the doctors, the dentists, the pharmacists, the general public. Also, often antibiotic resistance is being generated in animals. So we have this indiscriminate use of antibiotics in animals. So we need that to be understood by the vets, the animal technicians, the farmers, and the livestock producers. But we also need academic input. We need to understand the levels of antibiotic resistance, which antibiotics are resistant, what are the genes that are involved in resistance, all those scientific elements. We need to also understand the environmental factors, because antibiotic resistance is actually transmitted through the environment, through food and soil. And critically, the social and economic consequences. We need to develop a social and an economic case for sustainable investment. So these guys, the policy guys, actually take note, and they give the money and the funding, and they work with the international organizations to put in an effective action plan. We also need the private sector to be involved, because they're the ones that are developing the new antibiotics that we so need. So again, it's looking from a One Health approach, who needs to be involved in really developing an effective, efficient action plan. So as I've said, our big challenge is to promote and entrench One Health approaches to help solve some of these major health issues that I've talked about. And this is really about changing the way people think about health issues. So we can work from the top down through our policymakers. We need to change their minds and develop policy, but we can also work from the bottom up through community engagement, which is often the way things work more effectively. But in order to do this, we need leaders, we need practitioners, we need experts who understand the One Health approach, who are able to lead the process in the communities and in governments. And what we've been doing just in the last couple of minutes in the Caribbean, have been working very hard to develop networks of Caribbean professionals in order to affect change in these areas. And I'm going to show you a little video now of the One Health Leadership Series and some of the work we've been doing to develop One Health leaders across 12 Caribbean countries. So let me just stop this, and I'm going to show the video.
BC icon. Yeah. Listen me, listen me, listen me. Listen me, listen me, feature. Spread the one that with the paper across the region. Listen me, feature. Listen me. Listen me News would like to introduce you to this brand new concept. One health, one Caribbean, one love. One health, one Caribbean, one love. Together we're strong. One health, one Caribbean, one love, love. Together we're strong. One health are the brand new concept to fight virus and diseases. Calling all of the various doctors, let's work together to achieve this. Human doctor, animal doctor, the environmental doctor. Each one an important factor. The public health have a brand new chapter. A good example of chickpea. Even if it don't hurt you, then it still hurt me. If you check the process, you will see it move from the environment to animal, then to we. First from the egg in the water, then from the water to the mosquito, then from the mosquito it goes straight to the people. But if we work together, then it lead to one health, one Caribbean, one love. Together we're strong. One health, one Caribbean, one love, love. Together we're strong. One health is not just for people with medical occupation. It is for the entire population. So we need everyone cooperation across the region. Improve food security, better solid waste management and water purity. Protect the habitat for you and me, for the animals on the land and the fish in the sea. One Caribbean, one love. Together we're strong. One health, one Caribbean, one love, love. Together we're strong. Listen me. Enough respect to one health leaders. 12 countries across the region. To a health Caribbean, them are leaders. Let me list out the island: Jamaica, Grenada, Guyana, Belize, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Suriname, Barbados, Dominica, Trinidad, Tobago, Haiti, Antigua. One health, one Caribbean, one love. Together we're strong. One health.
So I hope you enjoyed that little video. So I'm going to finish now, but I'm just wanted to say that we're also carrying out a climate change and health leaders fellowship program at the moment, where we're training professionals from 16 Caribbean countries to again become experts in the One Health process when specifically related to climate change and health. So you can find more information on this at this link here. So thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you for listening. Please feel free to contact myself or my project manager, Stacey, if you want to learn any more about what we're doing. And please take a look at this One Health book through this link. It's freely downloadable. And this will show you in all the great work we've been doing across the Caribbean in One Health over the past few years. So thank you very much, and I'll sign off now.
Thank you, Christopher. Thank you a lot for this rich presentation, and we have time later on to come back with questions or comments. Sorry guys, I cannot switch on my video, unfortunately, right now, but I'll present our next speaker, Dr. Maëlys Douine. So a few words about Maëlys. Maëlys Douine is a medical doctor and public health researcher in Guyana. She works mainly in interventional research to assess innovative strategies for the control and elimination of malaria among difficult to access populations in the Amazon, including illegal gold miners. Her research also focuses on the threats of zoonotic diseases and the emergence of new pathogens within these populations who are in close contact with Amazonian biodiversity. as well as on pathologies related to living in isolation in the forest. So, Maëlys, please, to you.
Hi, thank you very much for this presentation. Just a small precision. I'm not in Guyana, but in French Guyana, and it's really different. I have my presentation here. My presentation is in English, but I can speak in French or English. What is the best for you? My English is not very good.
You can speak French. We have people to translate. No worries.
Okay. Okay, thank
Much
you.
as you're comfortable with whatever you want to do.
Okay.
Comme c'est le plus pratique pour toi.
D'accord, bah, je vais faire du coup en français. Alors, voilà, ça y est, je peux partager mon écran. Voilà, est-ce que c'est bon pour vous? Vous voyez bien mon écran?
Oui, c'est bon.
D'accord, ok. Merci beaucoup de m'avoir invité à présenter nos travaux de recherche ici, du coup, en Guyane, hein, sur le plateau des Guyanes. Donc, je vais vous parler de projets de recherche interventionnelle qui concernent le paludisme en forêt. Et vous allez voir qu'on va parler surtout de paludisme chez les orpailleurs, et notamment les orpailleurs, donc les chercheurs d'or qui travaillent de façon illégale sur le territoire de la Guyane. Moi, je travaille pour une structure qui s'appelle le Centre d'investigation clinique, qui est une structure de recherche dans l'hôpital de Cayenne, qui est dépendante de l'INSERM, donc l'Institut national de recherche médicale. Alors, pourquoi ces questions? Enfin, un petit retour en arrière sur les 10 dernières années, en gros, du paludisme en Guyane. Et on voit ici sur ce graphique qu'au cours des années 2000, on était à plusieurs milliers de cas de paludisme par an, alors que la population à cette époque-là était d'environ 200 000 personnes, 200-220 000 personnes. Il y a une nette diminution, mais ça reste encore jusqu'au début des années 2010, plusieurs milliers de cas par an. Vous voyez sur la carte ici que ça concerne essentiellement les zones qui sont à l'intérieur, là, le orange, là où on voit le plus d'incidence de paludisme. Et en fait, ce sont des endroits où il n'y a pas de population qui vivent. Donc, ce sont essentiellement du paludisme forestier. Donc, on voit dans le système de surveillance que ça peut être des travailleurs forestiers qui reviennent avec du paludisme, les militaires qui interviennent sur les sites d'orpaillage pour essayer de contrôler cette activité illégale, et aussi dans les populations locales, donc essentiellement amérindiennes ou bushinengue, sur le fleuve Oyapock et un petit peu sur le fleuve Maroni. Alors, pour mieux comprendre un petit peu la situation de ce paludisme en forêt, donc qui touche les orpailleurs, nous avons fait des études spécifiques auprès de cette population. Il y a une première étude qui a été faite en 2014 sur un site d'orpaillage qui s'appelle Eau Claire, qui est dans cette région ici, qui a été menée par le service de santé des armées, qui était très impliqué dans la question du paludisme, puisque les militaires intervenant en forêt revenaient très fréquemment avec du paludisme, malgré des prophylaxies. Donc, ils étaient intéressés de mieux comprendre cette situation. Et nous, au CIC, nous avons fait une étude en 2015, donc une étude où on s'est rendu sur plein de bases arrières logistiques d'orpaillage tout le long du Maroni, et on incluait les personnes qui arrivaient de Guyane depuis moins de 7 jours, et donc on leur faisait une prise de sang, un questionnaire, etc. sur le palud. Donc, sur un échantillonnage beaucoup plus large de sites d'orpaillage de cette région. Et les deux études ont montré des résultats qui étaient particulièrement inquiétants, avec au global quasiment 1 personne sur 4 porteurs de parasites du plasmodium en PCR, une majorité de falciparum, donc le parasite le plus mortel, et des comportements avec près d'1 personne sur 2 qui utilisent des médicaments au marché noir quand ils ont des symptômes de paludisme. Il y en a très peu qui vont dans le système de soins pour avoir un vrai diagnostic et un traitement certifié. Donc, on s'est rendu compte que finalement, ce qu'on avait dans le système de surveillance ici, même si ça diminuait, on l'a vu sur les courbes que je vous ai montrées sur la première diapo, en fait, ce n'est pas du tout représentatif de ce qui peut se passer en forêt, puisqu'on a aussi tous les orpailleurs qui sont infectés par le paludisme sur le territoire guyanais, mais qui partent au Suriname ou au Brésil et qui sont diagnostiqués là-bas. Toutes les personnes qui ne font pas diagnostiquer du tout et toutes les personnes qui sont porteurs asymptomatiques, puisqu'en fait, à force d'être en contact répété avec le parasite, ils peuvent acquérir une immunité partielle qui leur permet d'être porteurs sains. Or, même en étant porteurs sains, ils peuvent toujours être transmetteurs de paludisme pour les autres. Donc au final, ces études ont montré que même si les courbes étaient plutôt rassurantes avec une diminution au début des années 2010 du paludisme dans la région, en fait, on a un gros problème lié aux orpailleurs qui peuvent du coup entraîner une résurgence de paludisme dans d'autres régions où il avait été contrôlé, notamment au Suriname avec les efforts qui avaient été faits par le ministère de la Santé et au Brésil également, et de l'apparition de parasites résistants aux dérivés d'artémisinine, puisque ça circule de façon massive au marché noir, c'est fortement utilisé, avec une mauvaise observance, donc on risque de sélectionner les parasites résistants. Donc, une fois qu'on a dit ça, la question c'est que faire, comment accéder à ces populations pour contrôler le paludisme. Et la première étape, si on veut contrôler cette pathologie, c'est de donner accès au diagnostic et au traitement le plus vite possible, dans les 48 heures idéalement, selon les recommandations de l'OMS, afin de diminuer la transmission pour les autres et aussi la morbidité personnelle, donc que les gens soient moins malades et ne meurent pas de cette pathologie. Donc, on a un contexte amazonien, hein, c'est la forêt amazonienne, quasiment tout le territoire de Guyane est recouvert de forêt. Il y a des centaines de sites d'orpaillage répartis sur le territoire, avec des conditions d'accès qui sont compliquées, donc souvent en pirogue, ça peut être en quad, en petit avion aussi pour aller sur des petites villes depuis lesquelles ensuite on peut aller en forêt. Et en plus, il y a ces opérations militaires qu'on appelle harpies, qui sont concomitantes puisqu'elles essayent de lutter contre ce fléau qui est l'orpaillage sur le territoire, mais qui du coup compliquent aussi l'accès pour la santé des personnes. À la fois pour les personnes pour sortir de forêt, pour venir se faire soigner dans un centre de santé, où ils seraient reçus et ils auraient un traitement gratuit dans le système français, mais aussi pour des équipes potentiellement médicales d'aller intervenir en forêt et de se retrouver éventuellement entre les orpailleurs et les forces armées. Alors, donc, nous avons inventé une nouvelle façon de faire qui n'avait pas encore été testée jusque-là à base de autodiagnostic et d'autotraitement. On s'est dit, si nous avons beaucoup de difficultés pour aller vers ces populations, il faut que ces personnes qui sont dans des endroits très éloignés, parfois à 4-5 jours de marche du centre de santé le plus proche, puissent se faire un diagnostic par elles-mêmes et prendre un traitement complet du palu si ce test est positif. Donc, on a inventé cette petite trousse en plastique waterproof, facilement transportable, elle est petite, légère, et dans laquelle nous avons 3 tests de diagnostic rapides, ceux-ci, pour lesquels il suffit de faire une petite piqûre au bout du doigt, de le mettre sur un test, et on a un résultat qui va nous montrer soit une bande, c'est négatif, 2 bandes, c'est positif, vous avez le paludisme. La deuxième partie de la pochette contient le traitement complet du paludisme. Donc, si le test est positif, les personnes peuvent prendre le traitement. Donc, nous avons mis en place cette intervention de grande ampleur avec nos partenaires du Suriname et du Brésil. Donc, vous voyez sur chaque fleuve frontière, et ici, un point de distribution des kits également à Paramaribo, et de l'autre côté, au Brésil. Sur chaque point de distribution, nous avons des équipes de médiateurs qui sont en place de façon pérenne. Et ce sont des personnes qui sont issues de la communauté des orpailleurs, qui sont essentiellement brésiliens, donc qui vont parler portugais pour pouvoir communiquer facilement avec les personnes, et qui vont les former à faire eux-mêmes le test, à comprendre le résultat et à savoir prendre le traitement correctement. Donc pour cela, nous avons développé de nombreux outils d'information et de communication, notamment à base de vidéos, avec une application aussi smartphone, une application embarquée, c'est-à-dire que les personnes peuvent l'utiliser même sans connexion, et pour s'assurer de la bonne utilisation des kits. C'est un projet que nous avons développé sous un format de recherche opérationnelle, puisque ça nous a paru très important, comme c'était quelque chose de très innovant, de mettre en place l'intervention, mais également de l'évaluer. Et pour ça, nous avons mis en place beaucoup d'outils de recueil d'informations. Donc, nous avons fait déjà des études avant et après l'intervention, pour avoir des études transversales, pour comparer les indicateurs du palu avant et après. Nous avons mis en place aussi tout un système de surveillance des effets indésirables potentiels en cas de mauvaise utilisation de kits, de mauvaise utilisation des traitements, et aussi une étude qualitative pour recueillir l'opinion de la population par rapport au projet, savoir si on répond à un vrai besoin, si les personnes considèrent que c'est quelque chose qui leur est utile et comment ils s'approprient cette stratégie. Donc, cette intervention malakite a duré 2 ans. Nous l'avons commencé en avril 2018 et terminé en mars 2020. Donc, on a eu beaucoup de chance parce que c'était juste avant le Covid. Donc, on a pu mener à bien l'intervention comme prévu. Au cours de laquelle nous avons distribué 4700 kits à 3700 personnes, puisqu'une personne pouvait revenir obtenir un nouveau kit une fois qu'il l'avait utilisé. Sur les visites de suivi documentées après utilisation d'un kit, c'est-à-dire quand les personnes reviennent, on leur demande est-ce que vous avez eu besoin de l'utiliser, comment vous l'avez utilisé, etc. En utilisant une définition très stricte d'une utilisation correcte, on est à 70% de bonne utilisation du kit, ce qui pour nous est très satisfaisant, puisque quand on regarde des études sur juste la bonne prise d'antibiotiques sur 5 jours dans une population européenne, on est plutôt autour de 30%. Donc là, on était plutôt satisfait de ce résultat et on considère au total que sur les 2 ans d'études, on a touché environ un tiers de la population ciblée par le projet. En termes d'indicateurs de comportement, on voit ici avant et après. Donc, on a augmenté de façon significative le recours à un test et à un traitement par médicament certifié, c'est-à-dire de faire un vrai test, que ce soit par le malakite ou dans un centre de santé, et d'avoir pris un traitement validé par l'OMS et pas quelque chose d'acheté au marché noir. Sur les indicateurs du paludisme, on voit qu'en termes de prévalence, c'est-à-dire le pourcentage de personnes porteuses du parasite à un instant T avant et après, a nettement chuté. On passe de 22% à 5% sur la région du Maroni. Et quand on regarde la proportion de falciparum, qui est le parasite le plus mortel, on a une nette diminution de la proportion de ce parasite. Donc aussi, ce n'est pas du falciparum, c'est du vivax, ce qui va poser d'autres questions et on va y revenir après. Quand on regarde à l'échelle plutôt régionale, en regardant les cas importés de Guyane vers le Brésil et le Suriname, on voit également une nette diminution. Ici, on le voit sur ces courbes de ce qui est notifié dans les systèmes de soins des 3 pays. Et donc, on a fait un travail de modélisation qui a été réalisé par Yann Lambert pour essayer de voir si cette diminution qu'on voit sur les courbes est statistiquement significative, c'est-à-dire est-ce qu'on peut vraiment dire que le projet a eu un impact sur cette baisse. Et en incluant des variables de saisonnalité, on peut constater effectivement que malakite a probablement participé à la baisse du nombre de cas de 43%. Alors après ce projet qui s'est terminé, donc on l'a dit début 2020, que s'est-il passé? Première chose, déjà on essaye de le pérenniser dans notre région. Alors, c'est un projet monté avec le Suriname, le Brésil et la France. À l'heure actuelle, il n'y a que le Suriname qui a continué la distribution des kits sur son territoire grâce à un financement notamment du Fonds mondial. Au Brésil et en France, on est encore soumis, on a des difficultés réglementaires pour obtenir une autorisation à large échelle de la diffusion des kits. Donc, c'est toujours en discussion. Et comme je l'ai abordé tout à l'heure, il y a un nouveau challenge maintenant, c'est le Plasmodium vivax. Donc, on est content, on a nettement diminué le Plasmodium falciparum, qui est le plus mortel, mais il reste cette forme de vivax maintenant, qu'on a plus de mal à soigner parce qu'en fait, il a la particularité de pouvoir se loger ici dans le foie sous forme endormie, qu'on appelle des hypnozoïdes. Et même si la personne est guérie, parce qu'on va avoir éliminé le parasite présent dans le sang, il va pouvoir faire des réviviscences plusieurs semaines ou plusieurs mois plus tard. Et pour éliminer cette forme endormie dans le foie, il y a besoin de rajouter un traitement spécifique pour nettoyer le foie. Or, ces médicaments spécifiques ne peuvent pas être distribués comme on l'a fait avec les médicaments de la forme sanguine, parce que ce sont des médicaments qui ont des contre-indications assez spécifiques et il faut qu'on s'assure que les patients n'aient pas en particulier un déficit dans une certaine enzyme qui s'appelle G6PD et qui pourrait entraîner des graves complications si on leur donnait ce médicament-là, ce qui rend les choses beaucoup plus compliquées. Donc, le nouveau projet qu'on est en train de mettre en place, qui est porté par le Dr Alice Sana, qui s'appelle CureMA, va en fait associer toujours la distribution des kits, donc la partie malakite, sur lequel là on a travaillé sur un nouveau design de kit, donc avec fabrication locale en tissu waterproof, et un deuxième volet qui va être pour les personnes qui sont potentiellement porteurs d'hypnozoïdes, de cette forme endormie dans le foie de vivax. On va leur faire un test directement par les médiateurs pour voir s'ils sont porteurs de cette enzyme qui contre-indiquerait le traitement radical, le traitement définitif. Et s'ils n'ont aucun déficit, on va leur proposer ce traitement qui s'appelle soit primaquine, soit tafénoquine, et qu'on va pouvoir donner pour les prévenir de faire des rechutes. Donc, pour enlever les formes endormies dans le foie. Et tout ça, du coup, a pour objectif de réduire à la fois le Plasmodium falciparum et le Plasmodium vivax. Et on va aussi évaluer la faisabilité et la sécurité de ce type d'intervention. Parce qu'on le répète, on est dans un contexte quand même géographique très particulier où on s'appuie sur des médiateurs. Donc, est-ce qu'on peut, de façon efficace et safe, sécuritaire, mettre ce projet en place avec des médiateurs de santé dans des zones isolées? Donc, ce projet qui s'appelle CureMA, l'intervention a commencé il y a 2 semaines maintenant. Nous avons fait l'étude pré-intervention, donc pareil, une étude transversale pour faire une évaluation de la situation fin 2022. CureMA va durer l'intervention jusqu'à fin 2024. Et à la fin 2024, on refera une étude transversale pour voir si on a amélioré la situation du paludisme dans cette population. Il y a de nouveau tout un système de suivi des effets indésirables potentiels avec une application smartphone du coup qui a été développée pour accompagner cette évolution d'intervention avec les médiateurs, avec les systèmes de santé de Guyane, du Brésil et du Suriname. Et de nouveau, nous allons faire des études qualitatives de façon répétée. Alors là, j'ai mis qu'une seule case, mais en fait, il y en a eu avant, il y en aura pendant, il y en aura après, pour évaluer aussi la représentation et l'amélioration du projet de façon qualitative. Les bases arrières seront toujours les endroits où on va mener ces activités. Donc, vous voyez 5 points au Suriname et 2 au Brésil. Le suivi des éléments non indésirables donc par l'application smartphone. Donc, tout est à base de dessins, d'outils qui sont les plus facilement utilisables par cette population d'orpailleurs, dont la moitié a un niveau quand même scolaire limité, niveau primaire. Et les partenaires, donc nous avons de nombreux partenaires hein, sur les 3 pays, en France, Suriname, au Brésil. Nous avons également des acteurs scientifiques de différents endroits, du Guyana, du Pérou, du Cambodge, qui participent au comité scientifique du projet. Et les principaux financeurs sont les fonds européens, le CNES, le ministère de la Santé de la France, le Fonds mondial à travers le ministère de la Santé du Suriname et le ministère de la Santé du Brésil. Donc, on le rappelle, la France s'est engagée pour éliminer le paludisme sur son territoire en 2025. Et comme le dit bien le directeur général de la santé, la coopération internationale sera évidemment nécessaire dans cet objectif puisque ça concerne principalement les populations mobiles. Je vous remercie de votre attention et je remercie très sincèrement toutes les équipes qui sont impliquées, engagées depuis plus ou moins longtemps dans ce projet, et en particulier à Istana qui va porter le projet CureMA. Merci.
Merci, Maëlys. Thanks, Maëlys. Okay, so that was great presentation for both of you, and now we can enter this Q&A session. So if some of your participants want to drop a question or comment, or just open your mic and say it out loud, we've got translator for Maëlys or Christopher to answer your queries, questions, or comments. So don't hesitate. And if we have no questions, of course, Maëlys and Christopher, I'm sure you'll find some subjects or topics to develop. So just to sum up, if you wanna type in questions in the chat section, that'd be great. Okay, otherwise I've got some questions. So Maëlys, perhaps we could start with you, if it's okay. I've got one question for you. Was it difficult to set up the pilot study?
Yes, definitely, yes, it was very difficult. We faced different issues, geographical issues, because we need a cold chain for samples. from the field to Cayenne, and sometimes you need the boat, plane, ATV. So it's a difficult job to get the samples from the field to Cayenne Hospital. Second point, very difficult was the regulation, because in French Guiana we are part of Europe. We are French, so it's part of Europe, and we are working with Suriname, with independence, of course, and in Brazil with the state of Amapá, which is dependent from Brasilia. Different scale, different regulation, different partners. So that was another issue. And I would say the last one, that may be the last one, but another one would be with human resources, because we work in a logistical place for gold miners, and there are places very remote, and it's difficult to find smart people knowing Portuguese and wanted to live in this kind of area. But the mediators are very key people in this project, so it's another issue to get human resources.
Okay, thank you so much. I've got another question from Julien, and then we'll move to Christopher. Have similar kits as the malakit been made for other mosquito transmitted diseases?
No, because the particularity for malaria is that it's a disease with a diagnostic test and with a treatment, and you need to take this treatment as soon as possible when you get ill. But for other transmitted vector-borne diseases, Zika, chikungunya, dengue, sometimes you have diagnostic tests, but in every case you don't have a treatment. So you need maybe surveillance, monitoring, but not treatment. So it's not the same problem.
Okay, thank you, Maëlys. Christopher, can you try perhaps to switch on your camera if it works?
Yes, I'm sorry, I've been trying, but it says I can't. The host has stopped it, so it's not my fault, but
No,
I'm afraid I can't.
Okay, perfect. Then I've got a question for you. When was the One Health concept created?
Well, the term One Health has been used for quite a while now, but of course it's not a new concept. What we're trying to do, people have been saying for many years we need to do, when we're looking at integrating the health of humans, animals, and our environment, we're understanding that how connected they are. And we're seeing the need, when we're trying to address health problems across that interface, to work collaboratively across the disciplines, which is really what One Health is all about. Now, this is not rocket science. This is something people have been talking about for years. So it would be wrong of me to say that One Health was a sort of brand new, shiny concept that's just come up over the past 10 years and nobody's thought about it before. The trouble is we haven't been doing it. And that's the key issue. And really the really big, complex, wicked health problems that we're facing now that have become such big issues over the past like 20 years, like climate change, and the ones I mentioned today, antimicrobial resistance, the zoonotic diseases causing pandemics, and the issues we have with food and water security and others. These health problems have really come to the fore because they've become such big issues due to these factors that I talked about in my talk. So this has really emphasized more and more the importance of this kind of One Health approach to more effectively deal with them. So the answer to your question is it sort of started being used maybe about, I don't know, probably about 15 years ago or 20 years ago or something like that, but it's certainly not new. It's just we need to start doing it. We need to get out of our silos. We have silos in universities. We have silos in ministries. Everybody's working according to their own discipline. And we need to change our mentality dramatically. Otherwise, we are not going to be able to effectively address some of these really big health problems that I've talked about.
Thank you, Christopher. Back to my list now. A question, was it easy for the gold miners to use the malachite?
Yes, actually, we were quite surprised. It was very easy for the people to use it. The funny thing was that coal miners are 70% of male and 30% are women. And the male are working very hard in the heart of the Amazon forest, and they carry heavy bags all the time and so on. But when you ask them just to pick themselves with a very small needle, they say, oh no. So it was the funniest thing with the kids, the difficulty to just pick the fingers themselves. But except that, there were no specific problem with the use of malachite.
Okay. Now another question, perhaps both of you can answer it. It's how the medicine is being handing out, and who's handling all the medicine, like the package, the stocks over there.
You mean for the malachite?
Or in general, or you've been in your area?
Oh, for the black market?
Yes.
Okay. So the drug for the black market we found here in the Guyana Shield. It's mainly Artecon, which is artemisinin derivative coming from China. But there is no authorization in any country in South America, even in the Caribbean. So it's really just a treatment used in the black market. It's not a regular treatment who can be used, I will say in French, c'est pas un médicament autorisé qui serait détourné de son utilisation initiale pour le marché noir. Il y en a aussi, mais en tout cas, nous, ce qu'on voit sur le territoire français, en Guyane, c'est essentiellement des médicaments chinois qui arrivent ici.
Okay. Merci beaucoup. Thanks a lot. Back to Christopher. How easy it is to raise funds to set up One Health project?
Yes, I mean, it's always quite difficult to attract funds. We so often with research or with innovative type ideas, they're in vogue at a certain time, and then they go out of vogue or out of fashion. And then when they go out of fashion or something else comes along, then it becomes more difficult to raise funds. People have taken their eye off that ball and they've put their eye on another ball. And that's why I said in my talk, the time has to be right for these kind of initiatives. And at the moment, there's a lot of money going into One Health projects, promoting the One Health approach, the One Health concept, and really promoting or funding projects that show that this type of collaborative interdisciplinary approach is more effective and efficient than the standard approaches that we've been using in the past, because that's what we need to do. We need to show our policymakers, our government ministers, we need to say, hey, if you do it this way, you're going to save lives, you're going to save money, as opposed to doing it the way you used to do it. So then that stimulates them to change their approach. So the answer to the question is, money is always tricky, but when the time is right, it's much easier to raise funds from funding bodies. And at the moment, when it comes to One Health, running off the back of COVID-19, which is clearly a big One Health issue, there are opportunities, many more opportunities than there were before. However, as we move forward into other challenges, maybe there won't be such a lot of money available, but the time is now.
Okay, thank you, Christopher. I think we have time for one last question, perhaps for Christopher, and perhaps you answered it already, but forgive me for that. So would you say that's a major constraint to the implementation of this type of project, money?
Not necessarily. But the trouble is we need to, as I said just now, we need to prove to people, we need to, when we're changing mindsets, we need to prove to people that a new approach is better than the old approach. And that does take science, that does take detailed economics, and it has to financial assessments of a particular type of approach against another type of approach. You need the evidence, because science is all about evidence. So that's always been lacking with One Health. Everybody supports One Health. There's nothing that not to support about it, you know, this collaborative interdisciplinary approach. But the question then is it more efficient? Is it better? Is it more effective? Is it more cost effective? And that's where you need the funds and the money to be able to prove that. Once we can prove that, it should run. You know, people should say, okay, this is the best way. Once people are changing their structures, their governmental structures, once people in the community are understanding the importance of this kind of approach, then it's going to change. But it takes a lot to change from our traditional type of governance that we have at the moment, and that requires, you know, evidence, and evidence requires funding and money.
All right, thank you, Christopher. I have one last question for Maëlys, if you're available, if it's okay with you.
Yes.
You mentioned the maquette approach could be applied in Brazil or even France. Could you tell us more about it in a few words?
En fait, on a fait le projet avec le Brésil et le Suriname, mais la continuation n'a pu se faire qu'au Suriname, puisque la réglementation au Brésil et en France, c'est plus compliqué. Et donc, par exemple, pour les tests diagnostiques rapides, là, les petits tests qu'on fait au bout du doigt, pour être utilisés en France ou au Brésil, doivent avoir une validation en autotest, par exemple. Et ça, du coup, comme ça ne l'est pas, à l'heure actuelle, ça n'a pas pu être mis en place en dehors du champ de la recherche. Voilà, il y a eu d'autres problèmes réglementaires comme ça, mais voilà, ce qui fait que pour le moment, en dehors du cadre de la recherche, on n'a pas pu pérenniser cette approche. C'est en cours.
Okay. Well, thanks to both of you and everybody. Of course, thanks everyone, Dr. and Professor. Thank you for watching us and helping us making this webinar a successful experiment, exchanging ideas and listening to experts on those key topics. I'd like to thank the Red Cross and Karma Agency for putting up this event. I also wanted to add that regarding the RRE 2023, we have 3 digital activities, webinars, digital exhibitions, and reviews that you can access on the website, rre2023.fr. Please go check the evolutionary exhibition on the platform, and you can also download the review, which will be available from the first week of April. At the end of this event, we'd like to invite you to answer a satisfaction questionnaire to help us make these events more interesting, and also to get your feedbacks on its content and different activities. Also, please feel free to suggest new ideas. We're all ears. Thanks for that. Next webinar will take place on March 31st at 1 p.m. French time, and will be about fighting epidemics, inspiring advances in similar contexts. We'll have Hedley Caro from Suriname and Magloire Natama from Burkina Faso. Enjoy your evening, and thanks for attending this webinar. All right, bye-bye.